Blog Talk Radio.
You are listening live to another edition of ATL Prime Sports. I'm JJ Jurjevich filling in for Todd T.C. Corder today. And welcome to a Friday edition of, again, ATL Prime Sports. I'm here with RWY Jr., our producer, Wayne in Memphis. I'm here with at Mancini Sports out west, our producer behind the scenes, and, of course, at Corder Todd on Twitter, Todd Corder, who I'm filling in with today. How's everybody doing? And you can always find us, again, at ATL Prime Sports on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. If you like our videos, folks, give us a like and a subscribe. How's everybody doing today? Mark, Wayne, how you guys?
Great, my friend.
Yeah, well, it's getting hotter and more humid here in Memphis, so probably going to continue that trend to the end of August.
Yeah, we're getting closer to football season, so once they start kicking those footballs, you know the weather will start dropping. What's on tap for today's show, folks? Could UGA land a Manning quarterback in Athens? Trae Young drops 48 in the Eastern Conference Finals. Game 1 win on the road yet again. And we'll get into a little bit more right here on ATL Prime Sports. Folks, the topic of the day, the topic of arguably the NBA right now, the Atlanta Hawks are in the Eastern Conference Finals for only the second time in franchise history, as the Atlanta Hawks, that is. And they lead the Milwaukee Bucks 1-0 right now. How do the Hawks keep this run going? I'll start this thing off, fellas. I got to say, they got to play good defense. They got to hit their threes at a decent clip, at a decent rate. And, well, they got to get Trae Young in the paint. And why? Well, because he's shooting about 70% when he gets inside that three-point arc, ladies and gentlemen. The floater's killer. Once he gets to the rim at full speed, he has options. He can throw the floater up and make it at a very good rate. He can throw the lob to Clint Capella, or he can dish it out to Herter or Bogdanovich or Gallinari or any of these other guys that are really contributing. I think this team's got a good shot. I'm going to start with you, Mark. You still like the Bucks. What do you think?
Well, where I lie on this, I'm a big Bucks fan, and, it's the first time if they do win this thing, it'll be the first championship in 50 years. The Hawks have had a nice run. I mean, I didn't see it coming. I thought the Knicks would take them out in 5. They surrounded, the wagons there and beat the Knicks. And then I thought, it was going to be a reunion of sorts with Philly and Milwaukee. First time in 20 years for the Eastern Final when it was Iverson going against Big Dog and all those guys. And, the Sixers came up short, and now Atlanta, carries it into Milwaukee and, wins the first game. But I'll tell you right now, I think Cinderella loses their shoe somewhere in Dixie because I think the Bucks know what's at stake tonight. They'll win it tonight, go to Atlanta, and start locking it down and staying focused. I think this series is done in 6. I think you got to lose to win, and what I mean by that, guys, is the Bucks a couple years ago went to the Eastern Finals against Toronto, took a 2-0 lead, took their foot off the gas. And Toronto ended up winning 4 in a row. Milwaukee, didn't take the Heat serious last year, and the Heat rolled them. So I think, they know what's at stake. The window of opportunity closes. I think this series is done in 6, boys.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's probably going to be more a full 7-game series. And I think a lot of the success of either one of the teams is going to depend on who makes the adjustments quicker. To either the other team's defense or offense. You can't go into these postseason games with a game plan ahead of time and just stick to it. You've got to be able to be fluid.
Well said. Well said by both of you fellas. I think the Hawks can keep this thing going. Again, they've been playing better defense ever since Nate McMillan's taken over. Trae Young has really listened in and followed Nate McMillan since he's taken over. I was reading an article today. I can't recall where it was from. I believe it was a ESPN Plus article just saying how well Trae Young has responded. And that was a quote from his father in the ESPN article to Nate McMillan. So I think that's a big key in this series. The way Trae Young is shooting inside the paint, as I mentioned earlier, he will get better. He was 0 for 4 in the fourth quarter in Game 1, and they still got the W. That was from beyond the three-point arc, ladies and gentlemen. I'll ask you guys both this. I'll break down this in a different way. Is Trae Young the biggest superstar left in the NBA playoffs? Mark,
well,
I'll start with you.
I kind of look at it and I say to myself, yeah, it's nice. He hasn't been in the league long enough. I like the Greek Freak, but I think when I look at Atlanta, I look at the same way I look at Dallas. It's hard to win in this league without having more than one marquee guy, I think. And, people can say, well, you got Capella over there, you got Lou Williams, you got all these other guys. But I think if to win in this league, and we've seen it over the years, you need two marquee guys. I like what the Clippers are doing on the other side, too, and I think that's going to be a heck of a series, too. I think the Clippers really start to focus when they're, down 0-2. But, yeah, Trae Young and Booker are really exciting players to watch, but to win in this league, I think it's going to take another superstar down there in Dixie.
Wayne, I'll ask you the same question. Is Trae Young the biggest superstar left in the playoffs?
Of all of the marquee players, to bounce off of Mark's term, I really do think he's probably the most outstanding or spectacular of those. But like Mark said, you really have to have more than just one key guy on your team. So to him being the superstar, sure, he's at the top. But as a team, I really think Atlanta would do better if, Bogdanovich or somebody else would step up and start sharing in some of the scoring.
Well, I think Trae Young is the biggest superstar left in the playoffs. I'll tell you why. He's averaging over 30 in his first ever playoff performance. I think he'll get better at shooting the three ball. His shot selection has become much better in the playoffs. And I do think he has a number two. His name's John Collins. Played 37 minutes in Game 1. He had 23 points, 15 rebounds. And he had an assist to go with it. So the guy's really filling up the stat sheet. He was plus minus his 12. I think the second, another guy is Kevin Huerter. You forget the guy ended Game 7 for the Atlanta Hawks with 27 points in the first round of last round of the playoffs. He shot terribly from the 3-point line in Game 1, 1 for 6, 5 from 12 from the field. I think you got plenty of number twos on this team. I think the Hawks can continue the Cinderella run. It's good for the NBA that the Hawks are on this run. You've got Gallinari that can come off the bench. You also have Solomon Hill, who can hit the big shot. He was 0 for 2 on 3-point shots off the bench the other night. And you guys forget Lou Williams. This team is stacked from top to bottom. So I do think Trae Young is the biggest superstar. I think he's got the most help. And right now, if Cam Reddish comes in, the Hawks are healthy. Leonard's down. Paul's down out west. Is Giannis going to get beat up playing all these minutes? We'll see. We'll find out. But I do think the Bucks are still going to be the favorites in this series. But I do think the Hawks can push this thing to 7 games possibly. It's going to be fun to watch. Here's the big reason why I think Trae's the biggest superstar left. Look, this guy's gone 6-2 on the road, ladies and gentlemen. 6-2 in his first playoff. 3 wins in Philadelphia in that second round of the playoffs. Guys, you can't talk me out of it. I think Trae Young's the biggest superstar.
Well, I think it's interesting. I mean, I like what he's doing, but, when I look at Trae Young, I can't help, and, Wayne and JJ, you might remember these. I look at Pete Maravich. I mean, I remember going to some games and watching Pete Maravich play basketball, and the New Orleans Jazz back then were, an afterthought. I mean, they only won like 9 games, but you'd come and watch Pete Maravich put up 50, 60 points a game. And how much more dangerous would that guy have been if they had the 3-point line in his heyday? But I think Trae Young's, I think what's happening in today's, NBA is they're trying to grasp, somebody that can, you can rally around with. And Trae Young's that guy now in Atlanta. Like, Luka Doncic's the guy in Dallas. But, to win, you need to really have, a couple guys. We saw the Lakers when it was, Kobe and Shaq. We saw, LeBron go down there, and it took a year to build something with Bosch and Wade. But, we saw the quick fix in Brooklyn, and if anybody thought that team was going to do something, well, you're really not looking inside this thing. You can't, you put these teams together with super glue and expect miracles. You got to have the components, and I think if Atlanta gets that guy, within a trade or something to compensate, Trae Young, then I think, you're going to take Atlanta serious. And I haven't really taken Atlanta serious since, Mike Woodson coached this team. And Mike Woodson did a great job down there in Atlanta. He had them contending and everything.
Well, yeah, right now, Mark, you're going to have to take them seriously. They did something Atlanta Hawks have never done, and won an Eastern Conference Finals game. Coach Budenholzer, the coach on the other side, got the Hawks there. But I was with you. When they won those 60 games, you kind of thought maybe this is the fluke. The next year they were out in the first round. They were out in the conference finals in 4 games, and you never really feel like they had a shot. This team's different. You guys mentioned that you need a second player. I think they got plenty of second players. It depends on who steps up on which night. But I'll finish out with this, and I'll say my final thought, and I'll close out the floor to you guys with final thoughts on this series. I really think if the Hawks shoot the 3-ball well, this series will not be close. If they can hit the 3-ball at 35 to 40%, I do not think the Bucks will even come close in this series. This may be a 5 or 6 game series in the Hawks' favor if they start getting hot beyond the arc. Mark, Wayne, any final thoughts on the Hawks in the Eastern Conference Finals for the second time?
Well, I look at it like this. I just think Milwaukee's got too much experience, and they'll figure out ways to, play off of Trae Young, corral the rest, hammer the boards. They got to start, controlling the boards. And when you got your team, up by a substantial amount, you got to put the hammer down on it. So I like the Bucks in 6. I will back off from that comment.
And you know what? I guess. Go ahead, Wayne. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was going to say I think I like Atlanta in 7, simply because I feel like they're playing the game quarter to quarter instead of looking at the game as a whole, and that may be why the Bucks tend to slack off. Is they don't look at it as a quarter to quarter style game. That they're looking at it as a bigger picture, and at some point they take the foot off the gas because they think, hey, we'll get it made.
Hey, it sounds good on both ways. Like I said, the Bucks are the heavy favorites in this series. I just think the Hawks can make it an interesting one. We'll see. Folks, again, if you like our videos, if you like our live shows, please stay tuned to @ATL Prime Sports, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube for our latest videos and everything else. Let's move on to our second topic of the day. It's 2023 5-star quarterback Arch Manning. He's visiting UGA on a 2-day unofficial visit. How good is this, Manning? And where do you think he commits to school? Mark, I'll throw it off to you. Are you interested in this topic at all? Because this guy is the nephew of Eli and Peyton.
Yeah, I'm really interested in it. I'm looking for the next decade quarterback in college football. I was blessed enough to, see some of these good quarterbacks come out recently, the Burrows and the Lawrence. I want to see the next guy that's going to take this thing and run with it. I'm not a big fan of the Trey Lances and guys like that. I want to see a quarterback that steps in, is pocket protected and can deliver. And we'll see. The Mannings have a good family history of quarterback, so we'll see on this one.
I really think that he's going to end up somewhere in the SEC, and the feeling I get is that LSU seems to have the biggest chance of landing him, unless somebody like Georgia or somewhere else can convince him that they've got a better chance of him to succeed beyond the NCAA. But I just get the feeling LSU kind of has the lead right now.
And it seems like that would be a good bet. It's his hometown school, and his top wide receiver at Newman High School, where he is currently enrolled, is A.J. Johnson. He's already fully committed to LSU, so that would be a very good lead dog, as you would say. Duke is also said to be in the mix. Coach David Cutcliffe, who coached his uncles Peyton at Tennessee, Eli at Ole Miss, So that connection is very easy to make. You would like to think, hey, you know, the academics at Duke would play a part into Arch Manning as well. You know, Cooper is a big academic guy, so is Archie. Literally looking at his game, he really mimics his grandfather Archie more than Eli. He's got a little bit more mobility. Guys were very talented. As a freshman in high school, he threw 36 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. The big schools in the mix right now are LSU and Duke, who I've already mentioned. Clemson, Ole Miss, of course, UGA, and Tennessee are the real big 6 right now. Georgia's main connection in that, offensive line coach Matt Luke, whom has ties in the Manning family from his days walking the sidelines at Ole Miss. And, of course, Kirby Smart is a heck of a recruiter and is good friends with Peyton Manning from their playing days, Georgia, Tennessee. They coincided there. So, you know, this is wide open. Clemson, he already visited Clemson, had a good visit there, threw a nice dime to a wide receiver in Clemson. So this is wide open, but I'm with you, Wayne. I think he'll land at an SEC school, and I'm kind of leaning towards LSU making a pitch for this guy. They let all the other Mannings get out of the state. I think they're going to try and get this one to stay home, and I think he'll go to LSU. Georgia's got a bunch of quarterbacks on their roster. Sorry, Dog fans, but this Manning isn't coming to Athens, just like the other ones didn't. Guys, any final thoughts on Arch Manning, super talented quarterback out of Newton High School in Louisiana?
Well, I think, you know, he's got a plus, you know, when I look at the Manning family, but, you know, is he going to be a Peyton? Is he going to be an Eli? That's going to be the real key. I mean, you know, Archie, wasn't, I don't think, you know, is up there with the Peyton and Eli. He couldn't win a Super Bowl, but, you know, he was a good father figure for him. But it's going to be interesting to see how this thing shakes.
Absolutely. Wayne, any final comments on Arch Manning and the recruiting of him?
Well, just it'd be cool if he came to Memphis, but I don't see that happening.
You say that, Wayne, but I really think with this name, image, likeness, with this 12-team college football proposal, you might get some guys like this in the Memphis recruiting facilities or recruiting room, whatever you want, war room, whichever you want to call it. I think you'll have a better shot at getting in the door when you can possibly play for a national championship. So with that on the back burner, Wayne, I think in the next 4 or 5 years, as I mentioned on a previous show, folks, about that 12-team college football playoff, that will be interesting for the Memphises, the UCFs, the Boise's, and the Coastal Carolinas, who are now coming up in the world, the BYUs, to say, hey, you know, you can go to that guy, you can go to that school and be a guy, or you can come here and be the guy. So maybe Memphis will have a shot at a guy like Arch Manning if this college football playoff expansion happens in the next 2 years in his recruitment. So that would be something very interesting to check out. Folks, again, we are live, ATL Prime Sports, right here on blogtalkradio.com/Mancini Sports on the Mancini Media Network. Let's go ahead and go to our third topic of the day, and it's the Atlanta Braves. And if you're a Braves fan, your tail is tucked right now. They're 35-39. They sit in fourth place in the NL East. They're 5.5 games back. You could go on and on and on, but they still have a chance. Give me a percentage chance that they make the postseason. Let's go with Mark. Mark will start it off. Chances the Braves make the postseason. Put a number on it.
Well, I don't think they will make the postseason. I said that from the get-go. I like the Phillies and Nationals to come out of this thing. I think the division right now is, you know, sitting there with the Mets, but the Mets, I think, are just pretenders. I mean, you got Jacob deGrom, who's a great pitcher there, but other than that, there's a lot of question marks. And Atlanta, I think the problem with Atlanta is they haven't really recovered from blowing the 3-1 series lead with the Dodgers last year in the playoffs. They've stumbled out of the gate. They haven't really done anything. Sure, they killed my Pirates down there in Atlanta, but you know, the team is it's just kind of playing in a fog, if you ask me. Everybody's had these guys to do something, but they really haven't. And I think, you know, the fallout from blowing the 3-1 lead has carried over into this year, and I don't think the Atlanta Braves are going to do anything.
I'll reserve my thoughts on whether they'll make the postseason, let's say 5 games after the All-Star break, because I think that, during that All-Star break, I think they're going to have some time to regroup and hopefully come out a little bit stronger than they are now. But right now, like Mark said, in the fog, they're kind of floundering.
I'm right there with you guys. I'm almost at the 0% mark, but I'm going to give them a 25% chance, and here's why. I do think Alex Anthopoulos is thinking about how to make a trade, when to make a trade, where to make a trade. The injuries are piling up for the Braves, and that's why I'm leaning towards the guys saying, hey, I don't think they'll make the playoffs. Because here's the deal, folks. They're falling away from the wild card. They're under 500, so it's going to be a win the NL East at all costs or don't make the playoffs. So I think they still got a slim shot. That's why I'm giving it 25. But, again, the injuries are piling up really for every Major League Baseball team. But we're Atlanta Prime Sports, and we're going to talk about Max Fried. He missed the start due to some lingering blister issues. He should be back next week. But it's simple stuff like this. Acuna, he's missed 2 straight starts with a tight back. Outfielder Guillermo Heredia, he's missed 3 straight starts with a sore wrist. So you've had to rely on Ender Inciarte, who's been a bench player the last year. It's been very tough in the bullpen. The bullpen issues have been the Achilles heel, the sore thumb, whichever you want to, it sticks out like a sore thumb, whichever analogy you want to use there. That has been the big get-go with this team. They haven't been able to get it under control. Look, let's talk about yesterday. They had an opportunity to keep it close. Matzik comes in, issues 3 walks, only recording 2 outs. Then you come in, then you have a blowout performance from Sean Newcomb, who does great and does 2 scoreless innings, and then you go back and Mitt Martin allows another run. So it's just it's crazy the amount of pitchers they've used this season. It's 25. That seems a bit high for me, but it seems like a lot of Major League Baseball teams are having the same problem, and they're relating it to last year's shortened season, ramped up to a quick off season, right back into a 162-game season. So I'm right there with you, fellas. It's hard for me to think the Atlanta Braves are going to make the postseason, but if I'm putting a number on it, I'm going to put 25%. It's just too many issues piling up, too many star players getting dinged up, and at the end of the day, look, Freddie Freeman's just now got his average over 251. This time last year, Freeman was winning the MVP. You had Ozuna, who's no longer in the lineup for we all know why, and I'm not going to talk about that, but just too many players that aren't on this roster that were on the opening day roster, and the bullpen issues are too big. I'll throw it back to the field and let you guys give your final thoughts here on the Atlanta Braves and their chances on the postseason, and we'll continue a Major League Baseball discussion.
Well, I think the biggest thing, JJ, is other than, walking around in a fog and not, putting the Dodgers away in the playoffs, is losing Mark Melancon. I mean, he's already got 22 saves and 25 chances with the San Diego Padres, and they didn't re-sign him. That was a big loss right there. And to think that, we're just going to show up as, National League Eastern Division champions, we'll watch the Miami Marlins kind of fade in the sunset, but there's 3 other teams in the division. And, the Phillies, need to address their issues. I think whoever makes the big trade during these trading deadline, whether it's to bring in a bat or bring in a significant arm, will separate themselves in the pack in the second half of the season. I don't know what you think, Wayne.
Well, they got a better chance of making the postseason than Texas does, I'll tell you that. And as far as the American League goes, I think a lot of people's attention is now going up towards Chicago, the White Sox, being one of the teams to watch in the American League.
Yeah, and we'll go back and Mark, you mentioned the other teams in the division, and watch out Washington Nationals, folks. This team's 9-1 in their last 10. They've broken they've just gotten to the 500 mark, and we remember, doesn't this seem a little bit like 2019, folks, when the Nationals right before the All-Star break made a little push, got relevant. Right after the All-Star break, they just take off and win the world championship. So I'm right there with you. This NL East is super, super exciting right now. You have 4 teams within 6 games of each other, and everybody's within single digits. And I don't see another baseball division in Major League Baseball that has every team within single-digit ball games of first place. So really, this is a wide-open division. That's the only reason I'm giving the Braves any chance, guys. It's simply nobody's opened this thing up and said, I'm going to take this division and I want to win it. I want to go to the playoffs. And it might be the Nationals. Like I said, 9 in their last 10 wins. That's just unbelievable winning percentage. They're starting to play better on the road, at home. The Nationals are looking better and better, folks.
Well, they were 19-31 when they made that run to get to the World Series, and they took the Dodgers out. But another interesting division is what's going to shake down in the National League West. The Giants aren't, taking their foot off the gas. Everybody thought it was going to be the Padres and the Dodgers. And let's face it, the Dodgers have been running roughshod in this division for quite a few years. People have been talking about how they had 8-9 division titles in a row. But, when you beat up on the Sisters of Mercy and then you finally get the San Diego Padres healthy, and they'll do whatever it takes. I really think the San Diego Padres are going to win this division. They'll do whatever it takes, like, the team that's going to do in the National League East. They'll bring in an arm. They'll bring in a bat. The Padres are going to be the team you better watch out for. And the Dodgers are slipping. They've lost depth over the last couple of years. So I'm not sold on the Dodgers even making the playoffs.
I was going to say, best you can do is, pick up the bat, head to the plate, and make sure your helmet fits good before you bat. Speaking of helmets,
we will go into that helmet topic. The NFL is going to allow throwback helmets again starting in 2022. Do you care? And if so, what helmet are you looking forward to seeing the most? Mark, we'll start out with you, buddy.
Well, I'll tell you, everything's coming back. They're bringing back the retro stuff. You see it in baseball, the swinging A's, the old pirate logo on a poster. The Houston Astros with the Astrodome. I'll tell you, I really like to see them bring back, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the creamsicle outfit types, with that swashbuckling pirate, maybe the New England Patriots, and that's what, is going to come back to the forefront. I like to see these kind of things, and knowing Nashville, the Titans, bring back the Oilers, that look with the oil well on a helmet, and that's what you need across the thing, and slap that on, something, and it will sell. I real fast, and know we're up against it. I saw a guy walking around the other day with a beanie at night. It was, and I looked it up at close, and it was a Seattle Supersonics. So the retro stuff is back, guys.
It is back, and I'm looking forward to the creamsicle as well, the Bucks and Patriot Pat on the side of the helmet, the Oilers, and the old red and black Atlanta Falcons helmet. Wayne, real quick, we got about 15 seconds. Give us your helmet you're looking forward to the most in 2022.
Absolutely, that red Atlanta helmet.
Absolutely. Well, folks, that about wraps up our show. I want to say thank you for tuning in to ATL Prime Sports today. Stay tuned. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at ATL Prime Sports. For Mark Mancini, for Wayne in Memphis, I'm JJ Jurjevich filling in for the one, the only Todd Corder. We'll see you next week. Stay tuned. Get you one. Take care, everybody.